Whenever feasible, one should always try to eat the root. Would you join me at the table?
Welcome to Eat The Rudecast, a podcast about television's Hannibal and the works of Thomas Harris. I'm Cooper, and with me I have...
Hi, it's Miko.
And this is Ophelia.
And we were off last week, mainly because we couldn't bring ourselves to watch the film that we're talking about tonight.
I practically had to twist Cooper's arm.
I just found a quote from Dino Di Laurentiis that really sums up this whole shit heap of a project.
Oh, okay, I can't wait.
I say to Thomas, if you don't do the prequel, I will do it with someone else. I don't want to lose this franchise, and the audience wants it. He says, no, I'm sorry. And I said, I will do it with somebody else. And then he said, let me think about it. I will come up with an idea. Like any great work of literature, the author was blackmailed into writing it.
Yes.
Not only that, but Thomas Harris, a guy who is not a screenwriter, provided the screenplay for this film as well. Just checking now to see if he was actually the screenwriter. No, characters, novel. He has not written a single screenplay other than Hannibal Rising, and if that is the case, Thomas Harris should stick with writing novels.
Yes.
So, as you may have guessed, we were not fans.
No.
Miko took one for the team and read the book.
Yes, I did. And the best thing I can say about it is I've read worse. I think the movie also is guilty of these crimes where it's just meh. You know what I mean? It's like it's not even really awful, but it's not very good. And that's the way the novel read.
Right.
Just enough interest to get me from one chapter to another, more of a, okay, something's going to happen, right? Something's going to happen. Okay, I need to press on because we can't do an entire book that's just way too detailed about his past.
Right.
And everything was way too detailed in the book. It's like if somebody went around and followed you every day and like wrote down what you thought about before you ate that meal and during it and after it, and it was too much. It was like he was trying to stretch out a concept and make it into a big long novel. There is kind of an interesting story in there, in that when he does get around to this revenge thing and doing these killings, I was ready for there to be something interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to see how he gets started with cannibalism, how he uses his intelligence to get these people. And you never see him prepare any of these people. It's just hinted at. You never see him eating anybody. I guess maybe they're kind of keeping this the way the other novels were, where we just talked about that he was a cannibal. We never actually, other than him saying I ate his liver with, Chianti and fava beans, they don't really get into how he ate people other than little bits and pieces of other people's stories. We never actually experience it with Hannibal the way we do in the TV show.
Sure.
In real time. And you kind of get that in this. And it becomes like this weird action adventure thing where the cops are on to him.
Yeah.
But he's got the information they don't. How are you getting across the border? And I realized when we were talking about it that it has all this detail about the Nazi and the Soviet occupation in Lithuania, how the locals were coerced into joining. Some joined the Nazis, then later they joined the Soviets, whoever was an opportunist. I know more about the socio-political environment of Lithuania and France in the 1940s during World War II than I ever thought I would ever learn. And it seemed to me that Thomas Harris was like trying to write Black Sunday, not really Hannibal Rising.
Socio-political.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That he was having more fun researching all the stuff about how the Nazis moved through Lithuania and how then it became part of the Soviet border and how all of that political history that seemed more interesting to him. And then kind of in there, he was doing this sort of BS story about Hannibal that I actually think took away.
It's the Death Wish Hannibal edition.
Yes, exactly.
And for those who haven't seen the film or read the book, and I don't recommend it in either case, it's the story. I mean, if you've read Hannibal, my least favorite part of the novel Hannibal was the flashbacks of Hannibal's sister, Misha. And the flashbacks where we know that Hannibal wound up eating Misha because of this occupation after World War II. They were held captive by some starving, I didn't realize they were Lithuanians. I thought they were just Nazis.
They had switched over.
Nazi Lithuanians who then kill and eat Misha and feed her to Hannibal. Mm-hmm. So the thing that made Hannibal Lecter so damn interesting in that he was just a monster in Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs started to crack around Hannibal, and then they gave us an entire novel of that, the worst part of that.
Yeah.
So we get to see 8-year-old Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
Cute, adorable little curly-haired 8-year-old Hannibal Lecter. Because, when you're thinking of Hannibal Lecter and how terrifying he is, you know what you want more than anything else? To see him as an 8-year-old boy.
Oh, yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Just wide-eyed.
Because then
taking care of his sister.
You can... Nothing at all. Nothing. There's nothing. There's no value whatsoever here. And I don't understand how the first review on user reviews on IMDb says, why is this movie getting such bad reviews? Because it's incompetent and terrible.
Yes.
Ophelia, what do you think?
I tried to watch this movie knowing, first of all, we just start right there.
You didn't succeed in watching it.
I tried to watch this movie. End of sentence. I did not succeed because I fell asleep.
I debated waking you, but then it's like, no, you know what? Whatever she's got going on in the sleep, she's doing better than the two of us.
I did wake back up. I did.
I know,
and
you looked
nodded
so
off.
upset about it too.
I nodded off.
Like you could have been sleeping.
She was perhaps more upset the movie wasn't over.
Yeah, like, oh man, still going. But I knew that it was bad as far as Hannibal lore was concerned. That right off the bat, I didn't. There was no question. So what I tried to do is watch this movie as a standalone film. Is it just a movie that can stand on its own? And no, it can't. It's
unfortunately
it is still just a bad movie.
Yeah.
Even forgetting the fact that it's going to mess with Hannibal lore, the origin of Hannibal or 8-year-old Hannibal, whatever. I was throwing all that out the window. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to. Oh my God. How many times do they say his name?
Yeah.
Okay, Misha says his name so many times. His mother says his name so many times.
Yeah.
Lady Miyazaki says his name so many times.
They want to remind us. Oh, by the way, this is Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, but
because it's not in the freaking title.
It's repetitive for no reason.
It's repetitive in the book too.
No reason.
You see Misha a lot. The Aniba. You see that over and over and over again. Yeah.
Anyway, I tried looking at it as just a movie. Not as Hannibal's origin, just a movie by itself. Still not good.
I think it's worse.
Still not a good movie. Maybe that's why I fell asleep.
Because
I was
just by
convinced
itself,
it was a waste of my time.
Removed from this franchise, it's incompetent. Mm-hmm. The music doesn't work for it, and actually works against the film in several scenes.
It's very cliche horror movie.
Yes, the continuity is ridiculous. Yeah. The CGI is appalling, and it's like, well, why did you make that CGI? You didn't need to make that CGI.
I mean, not to pull, back up the best love of all the Hannibal movies, Silence of the Lambs, but the reason why Silence of the Lambs was so good to me when I first saw it was because it was a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
It didn't have to me, it didn't seem like anything was cliche. I'm not immersed in
no.
horror as you guys are, but there was nothing cliche about it. I had never seen a movie that was like it. And
no, Silence of the Lambs is
it was
a trendsetter.
innovative.
Yeah.
So I was looking for something like that in this, and not that I was expecting to find it, but not to me. It felt like I've watched the cliche horror movies, and they make me jump. They scare me.
Yeah, there was nothing.
There was
scary about this.
nothing, not a single thing. There wasn't even a gross out factor. It wasn't even gore porn. It was just.
And to think of all the people that died in this movie.
There were a lot
the
of
body
deaths.
count is apparently
There was a lot of
25, which is Hannibal's
I would
highest
actually
body
say
count.
the best scene was when the plane crashes.
Oh,
That's the best scene.
that's the best scene.
to me. That was the
At
best
the
scene.
beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I
Crashes
looked at
into the
that
tank.
as
That was the best part.
So now we're doing a John McClane thing where you're using a plane. You
Yeah.
know, you're crashing the plane into the tank.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, well, we're going to take care of this problem. And then we got to see the staggering little Hannibal stagger out in probably the only good shot in the movie when
Oh,
the
the bullets are
soldiers
going
are
off
coming
into-
out
yes.
of the.
Oh, yeah,
I
that
did
part.
write that down.
That was
an
good.
interesting visual
Yeah.
because it
That-
was the soldiers in the snow gear.
Yes, all the white clad coming through the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good scene visually, but
Not enough of those though.
no,
That was is even.
no.
Yeah, that whole
Nope.
thing should have been more. I mean, this is the death of Hannibal's parents and his,
Supposedly
and his whole
life
family.
changing. Yeah.
Yeah, spoilers. But I
had
don't think
this-
anybody's going to watch this.
Well, no,
But,
we're very clear.
We're clear there, yeah.
They shouldn't watch it.
They shouldn't watch it
And if
unless-
they're
yeah.
spoiled, fuck it. It's a
Right.
bad movie that deserves to be
Exactly.
spoiled.
And the whole idea,
We
especially
want to make you not watch this.
Yes.
the way it's built
Please
up
don't.
in the book, is that long-winded establishment of this family. His great relationship with his mother, and even his father too. Like the whole thing with the field glasses are very important because he gives that to him, and that's all he has left, and he winds up using it throughout the book to, for his revenge.
Revenge!
But he goes on and on about his education in Lecter Manor and
Stately Lecter Manor.
stately Lecter Manor, and Mr. Yakov is his teacher, and we talk extensively about the books that he's learned with and what he's taught, his relationship with Cook and with the horse. When they showed the horse, it's like, oh, it's Caesar. Oh, he loves this, about this, and the whole thing when he goes to the orphanage later when he's grown up, and
So Thomas Harris tried really hard to ruin the viewing experience of the adaptation of the book that he adapted.
Oh, yeah.
For you, one of the few readers of that book.
Of that book, yeah. I was like, that was kind of a bummer.
It's like, so you
because
cut all the good
that
stuff,
was actually
huh?
kind of sweet,
Interesting in
the
the
way he
book.
did that, and then he uses it, and then he
Just
sends
took it
Caesar
right
off,
out.
and he goes, "You know how to get home," and he sends the horse, and it just made that whole scene with Dorlix and everything just anything to make it more interesting. I'm clutching onto straws here, but all of that was built up for like a quarter of the book,
Yeah.
so that when they're in the lodge and they think they've survived and they're going to make it through and they're hiding, the Nazis have taken over Lecter Manor. When this tank shows up, everything goes to hell.
And that was the Russians,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I really
That
had
was the
no
Russians.
idea what was going on.
So the only reason why I knew a lot of this stuff is because I read the book,
Yeah.
and I realized if I had not read the book, I would have had no idea what was going on.
Well, I knew that
yeah.
they were I know they were turncoat. I don't know, flip floppers, whatever you want to call the guys that went from
The
being.
Lithuanians?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew
they
what
came
that
later.
was because that I knew just from knowing about World War II. So
Led by Rhys Ifans, one of the few actual notable
names.
actors in it. He's notable from Notting Hill. He was in The Amazing Spider-Man. He's decently known.
He's
Also, we
underutilized
have
here, but-
Gong Li,
Yeah.
who is also decently known.
They're about it.
But that's it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's really it. Scrolling down here, Dominic West is in it. The who I believe was almost Aragorn.
Oh, wow.
But of course, we found out 2 weeks ago that Nicolas Cage was almost Aragorn.
Oh,
Oh,
my
dear
God.
God.
Oh my God.
I
Talk
suppose-
about the biggest mistake they could have
Yes.
ever made.
That
That franchise would have gone down in flames.
Oh, I can't even. I don't
Remember,
even.
Nicolas Cage, it was a different
No.
Nicolas Cage in the late
don't.
90s.
I don't care.
It was.
Still not
I
different enough.
Okay.
almost feel like
play
there's two
Aaron.
types of people.
Aaron.
And Elvis.
People who like
People who
Nicolas
like
Cage and
Elvis, people who
don't.
like Beatles. It's people who like Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage and people that don't.
Yeah. There's a
But what
lot.
about the bees? The bees are in his mouth. Anyway,
Wow.
Anyway, going back, but so when all that stuff happens and
Mm-hmm.
the plane arrives, it's sort of like they get stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And his
yeah.
father is trying to save the family. And in the meantime, everybody gets gunned down. His mom is on fire. You know, the plane actually, I don't even think it lands on the tank. It lands in the woods. Because when he goes back later on, the tail is still sticking up out and the burnt
and is
pilot
Terry
and
O'Quinn
co-pilot.
there, and they're looking for a hatch of some sort? Ian Somerhalder is going to fall down.
fall
and
down.
Teresa falls up the stairs. See, I'm making
You're
other
trying to make
better-
it more
better
interesting.
Like,
stories
let's,
in my
right.
head.
Yeah.
No.
We're,
I spent the whole seriously. I probably would have known that it was Russians versus if I'd been paying enough attention. But the Misha
Yeah.
and Hannibal,
was hard.
oh my
Yeah.
God! I mean,
It was
I will
bad.
say, 8-year-old Hannibal,
Yeah.
better actor than Gaspard Ulliel.
Yes. Yes.
So that means there are 1, 2, 3, 4 better Hannibal Lecter performances before Gaspard Ulliel, and I will even add Dom DeLuise as Animal,
As
the
Animal.
Cannibal Pizza
Yes.
from the Silence of the Lambs parody film Silence of the Hams.
Hams.
which I have not seen.
Don't.
Don't-
It's
okay.
also terrible.
All right.
But
Good.
that
Good.
was a better performance as Hannibal Lecter than Gaspard
now-
Ulliel.
Are we bashing him because of him
I didn't
or
like
because of his
anything
directing?
any choice. Well, okay, so there's
Because I mean, are we falling into that element? You know, what's her face? Well, I can't remember her name.
who's her face? You gotta-
Phantom Menace. The
Natalie Portman?
Natalie Portman. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Are we falling into the Natalie Portman
I
argument?
will say, if I saw Gaspard Ulliel in several much better movies, I would judge him.
But see, that's
as an
the
actor
thing.
but-
Natalie Portman couldn't get booked for much better movies after that because she had to have people defend her.
But she was good enough that she could get defended. That
But
she could get
she had
better
a track
movies.
record
had a
prior.
track
She had
record.
a prior.
Are
excellent
you
track
a
record.
Gaspard Ulliel apologist?
Wow, no.
So solid.
I am just saying
She's-
he may
okay.
have been pigeonholed
Right. She's-
into a bad role, and now no
That's-
one will let him act in
That's true.
anything
That's
good.
true.
That is
That could
It was a
happen,
bad role.
especially if he was young and he's early on enough in his career to not have been booked by any big names.
Mm-hmm.
He may not have had the opportunities that Natalie Portman had to have the influence. People might just sweep him under the rug.
Right. And his
I
choices
feel
may not have been
bad
his
for
choices.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
For being stuck in the poorest grossing Hannibal movie.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. He is the worst
I'm-
Hannibal Lecter. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
no, that's fine.
Yeah, okay,
But I'm
so-
just saying we don't know what kind of actor he could be.
But we can
We
say,
don't know.
without a doubt, his performance in this film was terrible. It may not be his fault, but it was terrible.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. His choices, his stupid ass delivery of good evening, which they crammed into the film as much as humanly possible,
Yeah.
perhaps more than the word Hannibal.
Also, probably not his choice.
No, of course that's not his choice, but his delivery of it was terrible. I mean, he wasn't even pretending to be Anthony Hopkins. So
Maybe they told him not to.
Maybe. That's fine, but this is a prequel to the Anthony Hopkins Hannibal Lecter series because the Anthony Hopkins Hannibal Lecter series was the successful one. Though, as Miko and I were talking about earlier this evening, not a bad Hannibal Lecter as played by Brian Cox.
Yeah. If he was going to grow up to be Brian Cox, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
Well, also,
This
like, We talked about that he doesn't even look like Anthony Hopkins.
He looks nothing like
Yeah,
Anthony Hopkins.
he's got dark eyes.
Which, of course, isn't his fault, but it is the casting people's fault.
Exactly. And I think I totally get where Ophelia is going with this, because he has been dealt the suckiest hand.
Yeah, right? I mean,
in this, having to live up to this incredible role
yes.
by Anthony Hopkins with a director that we know very little about, apparently handled this all very clumsily,
Yes.
was probably not...
Director Peter Weber also directed Girl with a Pearl Earring.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Something called Emperor, a few episodes of 6 Feet Under.
I'm just saying, I know in other situations, like if you are going through college and you get bad teachers, guess what? You're probably not going to excel in your field of study because you're getting dealt a crappy hand.
Sure. And the takeaway from that is everything about this film is a crappy hand.
Okay.
So therefore, I mean, we have to judge it in some way.
Yeah.
The filmmaking is bad. The cinematography, which is probably the best element, wouldn't you agree, Miko?
Yeah.
Cinematography actually looked decent.
Yeah. I had a problem with all there was like insert shot mania.
That
excessive.
I would throw that in the director's lap.
Yeah, that's pretty much, because that's usually who makes those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the cinematographer really can just make those insert shots look as nice as possible.
Right, but they're told to put it there.
Yeah, and it was they were very blatant. It's stuff that reminds me of what like newbies do.
Yeah.
And do you remember the part where we all go, commercial break?
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't
There's
it?
a part in the movie, I don't remember where it feels like they're
it was the 8-year jump. It faded
but it goes to black.
Yeah, it faded
and it's
out
like
to black.
This
felt like or mini-series night 2.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Like
Because
I feel
that
like I'm
movie had
watching
to
an
be
old
4.5
show on
hours
Netflix.
long, right? I
And like
mean,
this is where they put the commercial.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
But it's like odd choices like that. Like, was this the director's creative choice of, well, many years have passed, so we need to go to black for like, and make it, the weight of the, you
make it black for a long
you go to black
time.
for a short period, or you don't even go to black. You go to the next scene, you do 8 years later.
Yeah.
Hello, we're done. Audience is happy. We don't need this extended time in the dark where people are going, should I just go get popcorn? Is this going to keep going?
Should I go to the bathroom? Is this bathroom break?
Time, yeah.
Is it intermission?
Is it intermission?
Let's go out to the lobby.
Break? Is there somebody back there? Like
Are the gremlins showing up with Hulk Hogan?
Exactly.
Well, the 8 years later brings up one of my least favorite things about the film, which is random titling. Mm-hmm. So 8 years later is the only time-based titling. Mm-hmm. There's several location-based titling, but not all. There's a few like building-based titling, like this is the college.
And like Lecter,
but not all.
Lecter Mansion.
And the weirdest was there is one that
whatever.
basically is about Hannibal.
Yeah.
It's like Lecter gets his first job. It's like, what is it? Are we watching a silent film?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Oh, and then they'll do these weird titlings and then voiceover.
Oh, and yes, the movie sin of having Hannibal narrate the period of time that is passing here.
But it was only a tiny portion of the film.
Yeah,
and we
it's
didn't
not
do
like
it anywhere else.
Well, there's rumor, and I don't know how true this is because I can't find any data, but when they first started talking about making this movie, when it was called Behind the Mask, and not the good Behind the Mask, which is Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie
We need to talk about the mask.
Vernon.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, we will. Oh, boy,
you will.
But there was talk that Anthony Hopkins was going to be in wraparound segments at the beginning and end of the film and be telling the story of Misha. Anthony Hopkins perhaps rightfully decided, I don't want to go anywhere fucking near that movie.
Yeah.
And a poor writer, and Thomas Harris is a good writer, but perhaps not thinking clearly, or perhaps not a good writer of screenplays.
Or perhaps being blackmailed.
Or yes, the being leaned on by Dino Di Laurentiis.
He's basically, it was like, he's
being
jobbing
squeezed.
it. This is
balls were in a vice.
But that kind of writer may not be able to write himself out of the narration he'd already put into the film. So he was able to take chunks of narration out, but these things there's no way to have it happen unless I
Right.
tell the
Unless
audience.
I tell the story.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, just like the book does, a lot of overtelling too, and not letting the audience sort of figure it out.
Yeah.
A lot of the titling is like that. I mean, I can get
It's movie for dummies,
yeah.
like we were talking about with Red Dragon.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of that in here.
there was, and I think a lot of those things were when they would show you things in those insert shots.
Right.
That's what it felt like. Like what we're not smart enough to know what rotten potatoes look like. We
Oh,
have to do
yeah.
a shot of them in the guy's hands so we can see that they're rotten. People are smart enough to have that piece of dialogue and imagine that happening.
Sure.
Don't waste my time with an insert shot that, you know.
I did like how offended you got by the insert. Like, seriously, I think at one point you're just like, seriously?
Yeah, I got really upset with
I
some
think
of
that
them.
happened a lot while we were watching this.
Oh, I have a lot of question
From all
marks.
around.
Like,
WTF.
yes, a lot of that. Things like, he says Grants. They're not supposed to say any of the names.
Yeah.
None of them. The whole idea is that he has names he's created for people based on what they look like. That
But he's
Brutus is
never heard
blue
a
eyes.
real
And then
name.
Yeah, there's Cook. There's the Bowl Man. He never hears their names. He only knows their faces.
Right. It makes sense that he would have to wait to remember that
Yeah.
until after he
Yeah.
manipulates his memory.
Yeah. Oh, then there's this whole thing, the
Yeah,
whole
can-
PTSD thing that he has blocked it all out.
Right.
I mean,
And-
okay, let's. So, first of all,
Yeah.
we know all this. We read Hannibal.
Right.
Yes.
The entire story of this book has already been told to us,
Yeah.
including the what a twist moment where we find out that Hannibal ate Misha. We know.
We know.
So why the cheat? Why this bizarre song and dance where they're trying to get us to, oh, do you think he ate her?
Yeah.
Because, he's a cannibal.
Yeah.
Or, oh, do you think they ate her? What do you think happened to Misha?
Yeah.
We know. Great. And so, I mean, it's not a twist if your audience knows it already.
It almost feels like because we do know it, he's trying to desperately make it more interesting. So
Maybe.
rather than just go, do a scene
Should've
where
made the-
it's young Hannibal and all the stuff happens
Yeah.
and you move on, maybe they thought that was too boring. So by making it where he can't, and we know, so it's like we're the ones going, when is he going to remember? Because we know he did it. He's going to figure it out. Is he going to freak out? Well, we know. And it is BS. I get it.
BS.
But I can see that maybe in the desperation to make this an interesting story when it's not.
Sure, it's not. Okay, you
But-
two
but I
ladies
know-
are being incredibly generous, and I just want to applaud
I
you
think
for
they
your
could
generosity toward the film and towards poor Gaspard Ulliel.
maybe, but I think if they wanted to go with a more interesting route, and I just sort of saw this in my brain for a second, they should have done, I don't know, 10% of if they condensed what they did in the movie down to 10% and then focused the rest of the 90% on the horrible revenge that Hannibal would wrought on the
Yeah.
people once
Yeah.
once he found out who it was. I don't know if I used the word wrought correctly in that
No,
sentence,
yeah.
but anyway,
The tenses might be weird,
yeah,
but we
yeah.
get it.
But he would have brought down a holy hellfire of cannibal torment
It could have been a lot more
on them.
interesting.
That I mean, he could have gone after the family. He could have flayed the kids. I mean, he could have gone after their spouses.
Yeah,
I mean,
didn't like that he didn't kill the
Yeah.
kids.
I know.
Well, they wanted
See,
to play
I'm
the
thinking-
game of I have fooled you.
Yeah, but
into
that's not
thinking that
Hannibal Lecter.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's
I
like
think-
the tricks they used are not. They're not what would have happened.
Yeah.
It
I
was
think-
just things to make it interesting.
I think Hannibal that I know would have said, okay, you profited from the death of my sister. So everything you've profited on since then belongs to me and I get to destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
would make sense.
That is what I feel should have happened. And they could have spent a long time on just the hunt and the searching for them and the I mean, spend an hour on killing one guy. I mean, that's what I'm expecting to see, especially after watching what Hannibal in the television show does to the guy whose leg he eats.
Oh, to get
covered in bees. Covered in bees. Anyway,
there's a lot of bees.
Yeah, there's a lot of bees. A lot of bees going on. But yeah, I feel like if they went down that path, they could have easily made a film much more interesting than the one they made.
I think the book needed to be pared down to get to that because
refocused.
Yeah, because the movie already boiled it down to like way too much information before we get to the revenge stuff. So we've already cut it down, and we still think it's too much.
Yeah.
So that meant like 1% of that should have been in the movie. Well, and everything just be the last half of the book.
I think Ophelia's got the right idea. Yeah. And, when we were watching it, when it just finished, we were talking about how the Chesapeake Ripper days of Hannibal Lecter would have been far more interesting.
I would much rather have that story.
His adventures as Il Mostro.
Yeah. Oh, my God, yes. I mean, oh, my God.
For a writer, Thomas Harris, who adores true crime fiction, to fictionalize the actual Il Mostro case, which is a true serial killer in Italy, and make it officially Hannibal Lecter.
Show one of those survivors or one of the guys that killed Misha.
Yeah.
Show them in Italy.
Oh, yes.
Bring them to Italy. Bring the story to where it would be more interesting. Yeah, fuck Canada. What the hell was that? That was the most bullshit
a film should not end in Saskatoon.
Yes.
But that was terrible.
Though, but he's
I'm sorry, Canadian people.
We love Canadians.
There's nothing. I meant storyline. I meant the Canadian storyline. I don't mean Canada itself. I love Canada. I would totally move to Canada.
Awesome.
If we get Donald Trump as president, I'm totally living in Canada.
Toronto's pretty awesome. So
Canada also has a whole lot of insanity in their politics.
Oh, I'm sure.
Moment.
But when I said fuck Canada, that's not what I meant. I meant the Canadian storyline in this movie. Yes, exactly. That part.
If they had done the Misha storyline as like 10 minutes at the beginning of the movie,
wrap it up.
Let us know that she died and they ate her.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then focus on how it affected Hannibal.
Exactly.
And if you want to make that suspenseful music, oh my God, what a twist. It's Misha in the pot. Ha ha. Okay. Whatever. I don't care. If you made it 10 minutes of the story, that's fine. Yeah. But not the way they drew it out and showed it again and again and again and again and again.
Yes.
What's in the pot?
What's in the pot?
Well, and wouldn't you agree that for an event that's supposedly the most traumatizing event ever that created this incredible monster, because that's really what we're supposed to believe here.
We are supposed
to I don't
believe
like
that.
this moment as an origin story. I don't.
And I don't either. Yeah. But if that is what we're being asked to go along with, wouldn't it follow that should be the most horrifying thing in the film? Shouldn't we see Misha being cooked and eaten? Shouldn't we get the table being set and see Hannibal eat her? Shouldn't we see all of that?
Or at least, him being offered the spoon.
Right. And something where he's been starving for days and he's anorexic and he's being handed pieces of meat and he's just so ravenously hungry he doesn't care what he's eating.
Because that is horrifying.
That is horrifying.
Is what I imagined in my mind whenever we thought about him eating Misha and all the other storylines.
Yeah. And they do... Like there's some images in the book that they don't really get into, and it's they boil a deer beforehand, or they cook a deer in I don't know if they use the same pot or if it's a different pot because she's cooked in her bathtub, which is sad because they do a whole thing about her being bathed by her mom and all this other stuff.
Yes, that 30-second moment where she's getting her bath in the film.
And they make a big deal about taking the bath, and they use it at the lodge. Again, too much time on all this stuff. But one of his memories that keeps coming up is that I guess the whole deer this baby deer is put in this pot, and when it's boiling, the horns and the skull rattle against the side of the pot. And in his mind, he's thinking it sounds like it's still alive and it's trying to get out, even though it's long been cooked and dead. And that sound of that rattling actually, all that stuff you see later on where he's drawing and he has like a lot of sound and smells and sights that are constantly triggering his memory. And he'll have some moment where he's lost in the reverie on it and that sound, and he'll remember that sound. So it makes it more gruesome, and that whole idea of the rattling in the bones, and he thinks about that and how they put a short little moment where you do see the tub on the stove.
Yeah.
But they don't give you enough time to process
it looks like a TV flashback, and it looks like a TV flashback that's not even Hannibal television flashback. It looks like a CSI flashback.
Yeah.
It looks like that momentary, it's kind of scary, but not.
Yeah, they really fall short on how horrific it could be.
Yeah.
Like the bone, they don't even focus on the bones in the tub.
And they did in the novel Hannibal.
And in Hannibal Rising.
Yeah.
About that her body is in there. And that is when his memory fully becomes clear. Because he didn't know if his brain was making it up. Because he had no proof.
Well, can we also talk about how terrible it is that this movie focuses its thrust on retrograde amnesia?
Yeah. Oh, that's what the whole first half of the book is about.
Repressed memories.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, this is Hannibal fucking Lecter. This is the cinema's greatest monster.
Yeah.
There's a reason everybody was terrified by Hannibal Lecter. Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't imagine the way his brain works.
Yeah.
And they go into more detail in the book.
Sure.
About how when he would learn books when he was at school, he would sit and read an entire book in one sitting and have it all memorized.
Well, because he has the memory palace.
But they don't show any of that.
You don't see that. They talk about how he develops the memory palace and how he's inspired to do that. And that's exactly what he does. It starts as a learning exercise. And
I was going to think the one time we kind of get an inkling that he's smarter than the average bear is when he talks about how I'm the youngest.
He goes and steals some picnic basket.
No, when he's like, I'm the youngest to be entered into medical school. My parents would be proud.
Oh my God.
That is the only time. The narration.
The significant shit about Hannibal.
Yeah.
It's like for a movie about Hannibal Lecter, we know almost nothing about this guy.
Yeah.
Like the only reason we knew the surgery stuff and it made sense is because we knew he was a surgeon.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we knew he was a psychiatrist. So when he suddenly admitted to medical school, it's like, oh, so he cared at all about going to medical school? Because I didn't get that yet. Because nobody has said a single notable fact about this character.
They leave so much out, and there's so much put in the book.
Except for he stabs that kid in boarding school that's actually his house.
Yeah. Well, and they don't really get into that either, that they turn his boyhood home into an orphanage that he then has to live in and sleep in barracks, and they're treated awfully there.
And we get that big poster, like 8 years later, suddenly Stalin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that. Exactly. Suddenly Stalin. Isn't that a musical?
Surprise. Yeah. And he's standing beside you.
Exactly.
Don't need no makeup. Don't have to pretend. Yeah. All that jazz.
And, and they...
I actually tweeted, suddenly Stalin.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
But they also don't get into that he gets in trouble for beating up bullies. That one moment where you see with the knife is something that he does constantly. And
it just looks like him acting out as a rebellious teenager.
Yeah. It does. It's actually deeper than that.
It's also disturbingly similar to the remake of Halloween.
Oh.
Which I realize came after this.
Somebody get stabbed with a fork?
No, the kids stuff. This little Michael Myers who was obsessed with masks. Little Hannibal Lecter who's obsessed with masks.
Yeah. Right. Oh my God.
And the biggest affront this film commits is asking us to buy the fact that his super sexy, creepy aunt.
Oh my God, so
Lady
weird.
Murasaki
So weird.
has a full samurai costume that just so happens to have a mask that looks like if you combine Shrek's face with the asylum mask from Silence of the Lambs. And Hannibal really likes wearing it because symmetry from films, not because character.
No.
Because, hey, you know what'd be great is if we could get him to put on a mask that looks a lot like that mask he wears later in the series.
first
because
of all,
he couldn't be wearing that.
There's so many things wrong with it.
So many things.
So many
wrong with it.
things. But I'd like to point out the fact that whatever was designed for him at the asylum, first of all, I've never heard of anybody wearing a mask like that. But
in the novel Silence of the Lambs, he's a hockey mask. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
They put a hockey mask over his head.
It's a makeshift thing just to make sure
keep
that
him
he
from
can't
biting
bite.
people.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the only reason, and they tried the hockey mask on film, but they didn't like taking away Anthony Hopkins' expressiveness, so they just went with the lower.
They just
half.
cut it in
honestly,
half.
I don't know why they don't have a horse bit in his mouth.
Well, because you'd have to put that in his mouth. You can put this around his head.
Oh, a horse bit would just go like that.
Okay.
Same process. Your fingers are still near it.
And I think
Still
also,
close.
I don't know if there's having something in his mouth may.
Oh yeah, he
not-
can't talk.
He may not.
If
Yeah.
you're talking to him, he can't talk.
I don't know if you need him to talk if you're transferring him as a prisoner.
But if you are talking to him, you need him to talk. And
I
he
also
can
don't know if
Okay.
legally.
Yeah, they
They
might not be able.
can't.
That's true. That's,
Okay,
that's
like-
also.
Because you know how the mental health facilities have gone through a lot.
True,
And
Fair
they,
enough.
there's probably things
They'd
that
make an exception in his case.
I will say,
he's
as
exceptionally dangerous.
disappointed, and I am thoroughly disappointed, as I am with Thomas Harris for this book and this film, he is an incredible researcher.
Oh yeah.
And I imagine that mask came from somewhere.
Well, let's
in
just
his
say
research.
that they had a mask designed, whatever. It certainly would not be Hannibal's choice.
No.
It would mean absolutely nothing if he was obsessed with masks prior to having
I
this
also
mask
don't
put
remember
on.
him putting on a mask in the book.
Well,
Well, no,
I'm sure that was pressure from
no,
from
there's
the-
no way Thomas
Yeah.
Harris writes
somewhere else.
that.
Yeah.
into the book.
The armor is there
Mm-hmm.
because it's the way she honors her ancestors.
Yes, she talks
Yes.
about her ancestors multiple times without talking really about what she cares about here.
Oh, they changed her storyline quite a bit. She is like an ambassador's daughter.
Okay.
And
That would have
that's how
been
she-
interesting
and that's
to
how she
know.
wound
Just like
up.
random Lithuanian guy married a Japanese lady.
Yeah.
Random.
And then died before the
Random.
film.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He's actually alive for a good majority of that. The fact that he gets there and he's already
And he's
the
already
uncle is
dead
already
by
dead
the time he gets
because
there.
there's a whole relationship with his uncle. He's the one that comes to the orphanage. He doesn't run away, by the way, in the book. It was like he did that whole, I guess, to make it an action movie.
Well, yeah, and
adventure-
it's gonna be like The
not only an
Runs-
action
as he
movie,
runs for the
but
border.
a 1940s serial, because we
Yes.
even get the map with the line on
Yes.
it during Hannibal's journey, and the slightly faded in, of Hannibal's face next to the map. It's like, oh, are we watching the Young
I was
Indiana
going to
Jones
say, instead of
Chronicles?
the young Indiana Jones, it's young Hannibal Lecter. I think I actually said that when we were, oh, look, it's the young Hannibal Lecter adventures.
This movie offended me.
Yeah. It hurt my feelings.
It offends, offends your intelligence.
As poorly as Red Dragon actually
Yeah.
comes off in this rewatch with the context of everything else, because really Red Dragon without the context of everything else that we've gone through here
Also
thus
stands
far,
alone or sucks standing alone.
But it's much better than this one in
Oh, yeah.
terms
Much
of
better.
cinematography and editing and
music, music that knows what it wants to be.
Yeah.
This one,
yeah, the acting
Doesn't.
is still meh, and
yeah.
and it's not great. But after watching this, Red Dragon went up a notch because I was like, okay, at least it was there's some effort in it. Whether it's just the how things are nicely framed,
yeah,
and things are fairly well edited. It's a fairly good adaptation
it is.
of the novel.
Yeah.
this wasn't even a good adaptation of the novel.
And the novel was shitty.
So,
I mean, really, that's a two-decker shit sandwich right there.
And they took out things that I thought were important. A little bit more about Lady Murasaki's background, the uncle being gone. You lose the number of years that you witness Hannibal experiencing things.
Mm-hmm.
He goes from being the scared 8-year-old boy to being an 18-year-old. He actually goes to France when he's 13, and he goes to a boarding school, and that's where he's beating up bullies.
Sure.
And all stuff that I'm like, no, you're taking away the fact that he's the devil. I don't like this. Stop making him like nice.
Well, that's it.
But just torment.
I mean, that's the cornerstone, right?
Yeah.
That all this does. I mean, why do you give a villain a backstory? Because you want to make him complex and sympathetic, right? That's the only reason to give a villain a complicated and tragic backstory.
Yeah.
Like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
The only reason he has this tragic backstory is so when they pull the helmet off and it's cue ball guy at the end there, we feel a little bad.
Right.
That's it.
But it's also in the storyline. I feel that there is still good in him. You know, they've
We're talking about Darth Vader.
Darth
right?
Vader.
Okay.
That is that Luke believes.
Right.
And so we had this little
When
glimmer
he hurls
of hope.
the Emperor off
right,
the
exactly, to
balcony,
defend.
yeah.
That's not the Hannibal that we've been presented.
You know
with.
what I'd
We
rather
don't
be talking
feel
about
there
right
is
now?
good in him.
Return of the Jedi,
Star
my
Wars.
least favorite of the Star Wars films.
That can be another podcast. But
I love.
I
Jedi.
feel like a different way of developing the villain Hannibal. If they wanted to give the backstory, but without making him overly humanized or overly relatable, there is an element to, monsters and people who, commit horrible crimes, serial killers. There is an element of that they were made. They have an origin story.
Sure.
They may have broken their brains may be broken. They may have bad, mental chemical imbalances.
Yeah.
But there's a trigger.
Sure.
And what we could do, or what could have been done in this case.
Because we can't.
No, we can't. We can't do anything about this.
We can't. See
Yeah, it's too far gone. But a different avenue would be, okay, we show this origin trigger, whatever, about Misha. We show the events take place. We show him remember it, even if I know you don't like the idea of the amnesia part. We show that as the trigger. He remembers everything that happens. He goes after these people, and then he loves to kill. Like, he goes after revenge. Okay. So his revenge is his motivation for his sister. And, his intent is to, do whatever horrible thing to the first guy he sees. And then let that become his taste for killing, and let that develop into the next person he hunts, and let that evolve into the next person he hunts. Like every other serial killer we've ever learned about, they get better at it as time goes by. Their third is better than their first. Their fourth is better than their second. Let that progression show. Let him get the taste, for what he does.
Well, no, I think
and
the
let him
is the
perfect
problem. Why not? Why are we afraid of Hannibal Lecter? He is Hannibal the Cannibal.
Yeah.
That is what we know him as. Why are we not seeing, your comments, Ophelia, about developing this would have worked so well with the first kill is perfunctory.
Yes.
But then maybe he gets blood spatter on his mouth and he licks his lips. And so the next time he cut something off and eats it, and then the next time
he could remember what they did to Misha and just repeat it on them,
right? Or that's
perfectly fine revenge, and then all of a sudden he tastes human flesh and goes,
and that and that's
you taste good,
damn girl.
Damn. And I think that you've totally nailed on the head what is missing from this movie, and that is we don't get that progression. It's tormented,
it's all awkward
youth,
and weird and jumbled,
revenge-driven teenager. And then
yes, it's Hannibal the teenage years.
and he's also angsty. What do you?
God,
all the angst, all the teenage angst.
Yeah,
with his turtleneck and his slick back hair.
Hannibal
it suddenly
would not be
becomes
angsty.
like a later John Hughes movie.
He would never be angsty.
Where he's just
That's not hashtag not my Hannibal.
Well
he's
done.
tormented with his feelings for Lady Murasaki, which is stolen from Tale of Genji.
I mean,
that storyline
shit,
happens
too.
in
That
Tale
is
of Genji with
weird.
Murasaki Shibuku, who's the character in Tale of Genji, where her name is taken from because she is Murasaki Shibuku. Lady, that's her actual name in the book. And I was like, so you're just going to steal the name right out of the
well,
the
he
book.
didn't want to write this.
Apparently, and he stole that whole storyline.
Stole huge chunks from other novels.
Yeah, Genji's father remarries to this young stepmother that looks like the courtesan who passed away, and young Genji first loves her as a stepmother, and then as he gets older, he falls in love with her. And I was like, so you're just gonna steal that
wholesale,
shit from,
wholesale.
Just and then we cut Chio out of the
honestly,
movie,
thank God,
which was worth it because I can't believe we wrote Chio into a half a season when she's barely in an eighth of the book.
right?
She's kind of inconsequential. It's the handmaid. So there was so much about this that why did we waste time on these relationships? Because they didn't tell us anything.
No.
All it did was make angsty, tormented, not in an interesting way, but in a, I don't know how to be mature. I don't know how to deal with my feelings. I'm super intelligent and I have a disconnect with, we don't even get that interesting. It's just, there's possibility and we just never get there.
Yeah.
And rather than going through all of that and all the explanation of his time, even if they gave us a fraction of those Chesapeake years.
Yeah.
And I think that really is what's missing here is we don't see the evolution of the monster.
Right.
Because after he goes on his revenge killing, boom, credits.
Yeah.
We're in Canada, and he does the thing.
Well, he doesn't even kill the
taxidermy
last guy.
You don't see exactly. How does that Hannibal become the Hannibal that we will see in Red Dragon?
And that's why functionally this only works as a prequel of Manhunter because we know almost nothing about that Hannibal Lecter's killing. We know that he apparently killed schoolgirls.
Okay.
So sure.
Yeah.
Angry, angsty, dark Hannibal Lecter. Okay, grow up to be Brian Cox. We're done with it. It exists as its own little world. This Hannibal Lecter does not grow up to be Anthony Hopkins.
No. Unless they were going to do a whole other movie where it's Hannibal continues rising. I don't know. Where Hannibal the Chesapeake here.
Well, see, this is Hannibal Begins.
The evolution continues.
The only interesting kill in the movie is when he kills the baker for no reason whatsoever, and
again they cut out information that is.
But the scenes don't go together. None of these scenes really go together. Dialogue seems to exist outside the narrative. It doesn't actually serve anything.
And the whole butcher explanation in the book just serves to make him more sympathetic.
And we get the probably the worst line that Gaspard Ulliel delivers in the whole film is, "You inquired about her pussy." Before killing the baker. Yeah. And my note was, that sounds like something Miggs would say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. There is
just crap.
Yeah. And then the whole polygraph moment should have been monumental.
My God.
Ophelia, can you back me up on the fact that sodium pentothal or whatever the hell they use as the truth serum does not work to recover memories?
It does not.
Okay, that's what I thought because it's a truth serum.
It's a truth serum.
And if you don't know the truth, you aren't lying.
Right.
And you not only do you have to take it, you have to be coerced. So there's a lot There's a lot of negative viewing. That's why whenever Hannibal talks about his use of unconventional methods, that's this type of stuff. So using sodium pentothal is going to make you malleable and going to make you easily influenced, so you can be convinced of things, or you can be coerced into saying something. You can be coerced into, thinking that somebody has the right to know information that you know, but at the same time, it's not reliable. The person is not necessarily telling 100% of the truth. You can't. It's not an accurate. It's not a science. It's absolutely not a science. It is very muddy waters. Very muddy waters. But you are not going to all of a sudden remember something without coercion. So there has to be someone standing or there with you going, okay, now let's talk about, and I guess it would be that he already knew the truth. Yeah. And just couldn't
that was the whole
come
idea,
to terms.
Is that he knows that there's a memory in there somewhere and he can't unlock it.
Right.
But
he's not going to remember someone's specific name.
Memory does not work that way.
He's not going to remember specifics. He's going to remember.
It doesn't work in the book.
Blurriness.
Even better.
Is why I found that whole thing, and why when you were like, it doesn't work that way. And I'm like, what's interesting is that basically is what happens in the book. Is he tries it. He has some pretty funky dreams, and he goes into like a kind of almost remembrance state.
Yeah. So if it's something that he has nightmares about, if it's something that haunts his daily life, that may be brought to the surface. Yeah. But that's stuff he already knows. He already knows.
And it doesn't happen. That's why he goes back. And he has to go to the lodge. Because he does the sodium pentothal thing.
It's the same thing with being hypnotized for information. It's the same concept.
He realizes he has to go see. The only way he's going to know is he remembers the lodge. He remembers
and then he gets the
stairs falling down. There's a man under the stairs. And he remembers the tub. And so that's why he gets he gets a passport. He's able to get back to Lithuania. He goes and he takes the horse from the castle. The orphanage is still there. He sneaks in. He walks through the forest. He finds it and he goes inside. He's being followed by the other dude. He's trying to kill him.
You mean not Inspector Popeil?
No. It's a Miko.
Who is, totally the Ronco guy.
Yeah,
Ron Popeil.
Was the Ronco guy?
There's a song, by Weird Al, "Help Me, Mr. Popeil."
Oh my God, I totally forgotten about that. But
Mr. Popeil would know about bladed weapons.
Yes, that is true. But his specialty is war crimes. But that's where his memory comes back. No. That's the Popeil in the...
his specialty is war crimes.
Is war crimes. That's why I find it funny to think that the Ronco guy's specialty is war crimes.
I could see that.
Yeah. And but that's when his memories really start getting pieced together, not because of any kind of chemical influence. Is he goes there, he finds the body underneath. He remembers the burning body of his mother. He remembers the blown open head of his teacher and the fluttering of the pages with the brain matter, all of this stuff, that these little bits and pieces of things that you've been tortured with in his little bits of memories up until that point all come together. Yeah. And it's not I dreamt about it in the middle of the night because I took this, medicine that actually doesn't work for that. He actually physically has to go there and be there and touch it and see it. And then he goes and he finds the tub.
Wouldn't this have been so much better if he knew and he was just investigating to find out the names of the guys?
That would have been far more interesting because he gets the name tag, the dog tags.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say protagonist. Is there a protagonist in this film?
No.
I didn't think so. Hannibal Lecter is not the hero of the movie. Inspector Popeil is not the hero of the movie. Lady Murasaki is not the hero of the movie. Rhys Ifans, and I don't even remember his name, is not the hero of the movie. We have been given nothing. We've been given no characters to root for.
No.
Because
Popeil is actually even less like heroic. He's like hitting on Murasaki.
And
after the uncle dies,
when he keeps doing that thing, if you were in France, I'd have to arrest you.
Yeah,
it's like, great. There's no international thing. I mean, you couldn't call somebody. Do you not care? That makes him more interesting. If he really doesn't care, if he really wants to track these guys with Hannibal, wouldn't that have been an interesting movie?
That's what he's trying to do. It's just very poorly written.
Yes, but if they work together, and then he's like, well, I'm going to get the guys first, so I'll let Hannibal think he's going to get, make it a chess game, like, I don't know, Dexter, because really that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, I think that was the idea, and it just was poorly executed, because a lot of the dialogue seems to be about, let me try them for their crimes.
Yeah.
You seem to be able to find these people better than I can. And he tries to make a deal with them. And then when Hannibal is so just taken over by his passion of vengeance, he's basically, no, I can't do that. Then Popeil tries to threaten him.
Yeah.
Well, if we're not going to work together as partners, because you know that I would much rather try them and send them to the guillotine, and you want them to die at your hand.
The indoor guillotine, which was the only interesting thing in the movie, I think.
Yes. It's quite, and again, I know way too much about how that guillotine works now, thanks to that book. Oh my God!
Don't worry, you can wipe it clean soon enough.
Oh,
just wipe the memory.
Exactly. So like Hannibal, I have to have some traumatic thing happen, so I just forget.
So you forget,
and I'll wake up in the middle of the night with images of it.
Like Hannibal, you'll be triggered by everything.
By everything, exactly.
There's not a thing that happens in this movie that doesn't trigger a traumatic flashback.
Of papers in the breeze, the knocking of something, boiling in a pot. I'll suddenly be like, no, I can't remember that.
I just got to the tweet here where you said they're ninjas. Hannibal's a ninja samurai.
It's when he's going in, he discovers the
well, they were doing the kendo.
That part too.
And I was
in the training montage that made me wonder if Ra's al Ghul was going to show
up. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, it's kind
of like he's got to climb to the top of the mountain and get the little flower. It's like, I'm sort of with you. Is Hannibal now going to go and fight crime?
He's Batman.
Swear to
parents
me.
Are dead. Oh my God.
Totally.
And parents are dead.
Hannibal Lecter
He's fucking Batman.
Batman. Yeah.
Bent on revenge.
Oh my God!
The Hannibal signal is blown up. Didn't we have?
It would be the mask.
Did we have a Hannibal signal?
Would the Hannibal signal be the mask?
The mask. Yeah. Oh God, the mask.
The Lecter cave.
That bothered me so much. I'm like, no.
I also have a real problem that. So these guys are bad guys. Yes, we get it. They ate Hannibal's sister.
Yeah.
They committed war crimes.
They're
we
bad
get
guys.
it.
Yeah.
They're bad guys. But he's also trafficking women.
Yes.
And he's also just brutal with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we get it.
They had to make them into such super bad guys.
That.
It was too much.
We didn't need that.
Again, more detail than I ever wanted to know in the books about everything that Grutas does. He's the Joker.
He does have the Joker smile.
He looks like the Joker smile.
Yeah.
He reminded me also of we're talking about Gaspard here, the photo.
Yes, we were sent when a listener was following my live tweets about this, and she sent us a GIF of Hannibal holding a cherry up, and she said, "I'm sorry, here, have a cherry."
Have a cherry. Yeah, he lures.
That's from Susie QS_fangirl.
I said Colness. He lures Colness's daughter over, and then sings the song that they sang
with
to his
Misha.
sister.
Misha, one of Misha's favorite songs.
Yeah, which they lured her to kill her with.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what wound up being the theme of the movie? Because I remember a point where Hannibal was whistling the theme of the movie, and it really just pissed me off.
Well, I don't know if you remember, there was a point at the beginning when I was like, "Oh, they didn't sing the song. How do you not sing the song?" Because it's it's over and over and over and over
Because
again.
incompetence, Miko, that's what it is.
And then he sings it to the little girl in the restaurant. And you've only briefly heard it in one of his flashbacks when they lead her away. And it's like, well, you haven't really solidified.
Wasn't the mother singing it when she was giving the bath?
I don't know. That's the thing. They weren't very.
I don't know.
Because the whole thing is that they
I thought
sang
that
it as
was-
children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They sing it to her. All of the creepy men sing it to her to lure her to her death, and then it comes up. It's like it's there, but again, they missed the mark.
Yeah.
Like when he tells the guy to sing when he does the bear claw.
Yeah.
And he has sing written
in the dust on the floor.
It makes more sense if you really had it solidified that they took a childhood favorite song and sang it to bring the girl to her death.
Yeah.
And that he is then singing it to them. He makes them, one of the guys, I think he makes Dorlich sing it.
Oh yeah, before he does the tree
and he's
thing.
like, sing louder. And while he's being tightened against the tree.
Which
with
was
the
totally
horse.
better when not Jason did that in Friday the 13th Part 5. Totally better. Really, you know
totally
what?
ripped off.
I would watch Friday the 13th Part 5, the worst of the Friday the 13th films. That's not even a debate. It is the worst. Multiple times before watching this ever again.
Ever again.
This is not a fun bad movie.
No.
This is
No.
just a bad movie.
Yeah, there's so many things that they missed that could have been really significant, like the song.
Yeah,
so that
they
when
were
he does sing
trying
the
so
song
hard and
to the
all the
little
wrong
girl, Colness should be freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God. And
Yeah, that's end of my. I'm dead.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm dead.
Exactly. And then it makes the fact that his children are threatened that much more. But they don't. There's no finesse in this film. There's no things are there that lend itself to actually possibly being an interesting story, a good film.
No finesse like that Party City cadaver arm prop that they used to fake out the guy.
Totally did look like
it's like,
a
I mean,
Party
if you're
City
going to
prop.
use a cadaver arm, which I actually thought was pretty clever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look, there's an arm over. I bet that's a cadaver arm.
Yeah.
And then it's just it's got like the half sleeve.
It has
I mean,
got
it
the
looks
half
like
sleeve
the one
one,
that you stick in the trunk of your car
Yeah.
and freak
And freak
people
people
out
out.
on Halloween.
It would have been better if you had seen the hand and just the hand and no sleeve. And then the reveal is the chopped off arm.
Just realize that's the
It's
best
the
time to
cadi-
get away with something is Halloween.
Oh, I've always felt that
Yeah.
way. If you're going to kill somebody, do it on Halloween.
Oh,
I mean,
People
that
would be
makes
like,
sense.
"That's makeup, right?"
Yeah.
No,
There's
it's not
some
makeup.
recently I saw on the news that they thought something was on a fence, was a Halloween decoration, and
Yeah,
it wasn't. It was
exactly.
a dead body.
Oh, see, that's what I'm thinking.
Tableau.
Like a week ago.
Dun, dun, dun.
Tableau. I didn't read further on it, but the other polygraph thing that I thought they kind of lost in was the whole idea that they couldn't tell whether or not he lies.
Hannibal?
Yeah.
Well, Popeil went to the end of Psycho school of wrap-up expository dialogue. What he is now, there's no word for, but monster.
Monster.
And it's like, that's the middle of the film. I mean, what are we wrapping? If you
It came
know
too
he's
soon.
a monster,
Yes, that was
tell the
premature.
authorities.
Premature reveal. Because I don't remember that being in that moment.
Yeah.
And I remember it being more significant. And I think it was when he was older, when a lot of this stuff was happening, when he was trying repeatedly to get him to help. And that's like this realization. And it comes around the same time where he's like, the young Hannibal died in the snow
Yeah.
when he was 13.
Right, yeah.
What we have now is not, it was like weird. They
Pure and simply evil.
Evil, yeah.
I watched him looking at the wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall. Halloween.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Fuck you, Hannibal Rising.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. There's just, they have a tiny spy camera.
Yes, yeah. Yes, he went to the Bart Simpson, the same catalog that Bart
Yes.
Simpson got his spy camera from.
Milko said his tiny.
That just-
that was like never ending photos.
Yeah, I mean,
it was like, what the hell is that?
yeah, that's some amazing film they had.
Yeah.
It's a digital SLR.
Totally.
The mini.
Tiny digital SLR.
Yeah. So many just weird things. They did have one thing that connected to the TV show that I thought was kind of cool, and it was the birds, the Artolians, which is actually in the book.
Is this the one that they eat in
whole.
one bite?
Yeah.
Yes.
It features prominently in the book, and so when it came up, I was like, aha!
That's the cage that Lady Murasaki just slams in the least subtle possible way. Oh, I wonder if Hannibal's going to realize where she is.
Right. Well, it's better when it was subtle. And because he has...
Everything is better when it's subtle.
He's so smart, and he's got these great senses. He hears the birds in the background. And she doesn't, corner check it like she's a hockey player into the wall.
When this is where Rhys Ifans basically turns into Peter Stormare, but not the good Peter Stormare. Yeah. And Peter Stormare, for those who don't know, is the real bad guy from Fargo. And
who is awesome.
Yeah. He's an amazing actor, and while Rhys Ifans looks like Peter Stormare,
he didn't have the depth.
He is nothing, and it is hard to consider someone getting their chest shaved in the bath a major threat. We've been set up that this is the big bad.
Yeah,
and they go in, and he's getting. I mean, I get it. He's a bastard, and he's being awful to that poor woman.
And that's the thing, is that there's a lot more to how he beats these women, and the terrible things that he does to them.
Because I don't know if you two know this.
What?
He's a bad guy.
Never.
No way.
He didn't just eat Hannibal Lecter's sister, the poor little girl Misha. He's also a bad guy in other ways.
So he's super bad.
Mind blown.
He's totally super bad.
He's totally super bad.
And he tries on a Dracula accent in this scene, too.
Oh, yeah, he has a really hard time with his accent.
And then Gaspard immediately throws his own Dracula accent on. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And that's bad acting. That's not bad direction. Yeah. That's bad acting.
Okay.
And trying to be threatening, he was comical. It wasn't threatening.
Well, he has that part where he asks Hannibal if he would have fed him to his sister because he loved her, and Hannibal says yes, and he says, well, there you have it, love. I love myself that much. It's like, what the fuck are you even talking about? What is anybody talking about?
Again, it is a sort of not successful way of proving how awful Grutas is.
Well, he does have the incredibly brilliant line, perhaps one of the most amazing lines ever said in the history of cinema. I know your asshole will look just like a violet.
You know what? I was going to check to see if that was in the book, and I never had a chance to.
Well, let's see.
I was not awake for this.
And he had the dried violet.
Yeah, and then he ate it.
Yeah.
He's got Lady Murasaki, and he says, I know your asshole will look just like a violet.
He says that to who?
To Lady Murasaki.
To Lady Murasaki.
And then he shows her a violet.
So you don't remember when she was kidnapped?
No, she was. She was long asleep by then.
Yeah, you look that up, and I'll fill her in.
Okay, but why are they talking about her asshole?
I don't know.
Well, it's alluding to that he's going to take advantage of.
Probably rape. Because
he's super bad. So he sells these women.
God.
He uses them.
Right.
They've already set up that one's mine. He beats her.
Right.
There's the treatment room, which they undersold. It's like if you're going to do super bad, sell the freaking treatment room.
Go big or go home.
Like that, yeah, exactly. Where the woman has to go in and take the messy, bloody plastic sheet out from under the chair or replace it with a fresh one, because this is where the women go, in the treatment room. He tortures women. And you really don't get that. The woman that's shaving his chest is supposed to have a giant bruise on her face. The side of her head is swelling up. And then he says to her, I'm going to keep you. I mean, I'll fix your teeth. Actually, what he tells her is like, maybe I'll take your teeth out so you can take them out in and put it by the bedside. Really awful stuff. And when he takes her in there, I don't remember him going to that extent, but he does threaten her by saying, do you know what will happen to you if you don't bring me bliss? So that kind of alludes to the fact that
Violet only occurs once in the novel Hannibal Rising, and it's under the violet sky. So I imagine that
I don't remember that. Yeah, I didn't remember, because I thought after he said, I hope you understand what will happen to you if you don't bring me bliss, that was it.
Right.
There's no more dialogue between them, because the rest of it is Hannibal trying to, because the boat is...
Oh, and then he licks her.
Yeah, he does a lot of licking her, which is gross and not very
Like big old mouth wide open. The creepy orderly in T2 licking.
Yeah.
The one who licked Linda Hamilton.
It didn't look menacing. It looked almost. I think that's when I noticed
Comical.
he looked like he looked like Will Arnett.
Oh yeah. You got obsessed with him being Will Arnett at one point.
It was only when
and
they
then we
had
started
the camera
singing the final countdown.
Yes, exactly. We were waiting for illusions.
Yeah.
It's gonna do
Illusions, Michael.
because it's not tricks.
Tricks is something
Tricks is something
a
a
whore
whore
for money.
Exactly.
Which is appropriate.
Right. There was something about that extreme angle up. It was only in those scenes with the treatment chair because they had the camera doing a really high angle up, like from the bottom of her chair. So, so that there's like the two of them looking up. That angle totally makes him look like Will Arnett.
Totally.
And he was Batman. So
Will Arnett? Yes,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah,
And,
yeah. So
it's coming full circle.
Full circle. Yeah. I really would have watched this entire film with Anthony Hopkins pretending to be 20 years old.
Oh yeah.
Like old,
Yeah.
big guy,
Heavy.
Anthony Hopkins.
With
not
with
even
Spanx
Lots
on.
and lots of makeup.
Not even dyed hair. No makeup.
No makeup.
makeup.
Just
It would have been
pretending.
far better. I would have gone with it. It would have been the film saying, "This is our conceit," and I would have said, "Well, that's weird,
But I'm
okay."
Would he have had a ponytail or no ponytail? As
Well,
young?
yeah, he'd have to have a
He'd have to have a
ponytail to go
ponytail.
with his high collared, even darker black turtleneck.
Yes.
So Hannibal gets shot in the sword,
Which happens
which
in the novel.
The bullet seems to have gone through the sword. So I don't know how
Yeah.
Hannibal didn't get
It's
shot in
supposed
the
to be
spine,
just dented.
or he got shot in a sword against his spine. Maybe, I don't know, the impact of a bullet might, I don't know, push the sword into his back, not even
Yeah.
cut him, but more break his fucking back.
This novel up to now has not really lent itself to caring about that in little detail.
So what you're saying is details schmeetails.
Unless it's about history and Nazis and
Thomas Harris didn't care.
yeah.
Yeah.
He only cared about that stuff. Everything else, just out the freaking window.
And he
just making shit up.
cuts an M into this guy's
And
chest.
only one M.
Was there multiple M's?
Multiple.
Oh.
He goes on. He loses his shit
I would have liked
and
to
just
see that.
continues to cut.
Cut M's all
M's.
over his body.
I mean,
Because one M, come on, is that really going to kill you? One M,
no.
you might bleed out. hours later.
it did look deep.
Yeah,
The cut looked deep.
but it's this whole idea of this. He kind of goes into a frenzy.
Good.
And-
We needed a frenzy
Yeah.
instead of weird mouth breather Gaspard Ulliel. Because his entire intensity comes down to, and it's like, yeah, okay. First of all, Hannibal Lecter's pulse doesn't go up
Yeah.
when he kills.
So he's not going to heavy breathe.
Yeah. So this, and his he totally looks like the Joker. I don't know why I didn't pick that up. Like
Yeah.
if he was on Gotham, we'd be thinking he was the
Yeah.
Joker.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I also
he
thought
should play that.
Yeah, there was a lot of psycho
Yeah.
imagery.
I would have
young
watched
Anthony
dead
Perkins happening.
Anthony Perkins play this role.
Oh,
like a weekend at Bernie's dead kind
Yes,
of
yes.
Anthony Perkins.
Like
Poor Anthony.
and I love Anthony Perkins, so I'll be very clear about that. But like the Lion King stage show, like there are people in black on screen puppeting Anthony. Sorry, yeah, that might have been too far.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit far.
Yeah, that would make for an interesting stage version of Hannibal Rising.
Now I feel bad. I mean,
There is Hannibal.
There could be a
musical.
puppet to look like
the
Anthony
animatronic?
Perkins.
the
Yeah,
Hannibal
there you go.
puppets.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Hannibal puppets? They're basically Muppet recaps of the Hannibal
No.
series episodes. Okay, we'll watch that.
Yeah, we
But,
need to watch
You're not
that.
spending
that
time online.
that puppet
Yeah.
could have just been Hannibal
Yeah.
with an arm coming out of the bottom of it. It would have been fine because it would have been better.
I think what we're trying to say here is it wouldn't take much to make this a better movie.
And clearly, I'm furious.
It's so far down at the bottom of the barrel. There's only one direction to go, and that is up. There is not much you could do to make this worse.
Okay, I gotta say, my favorite tweet of mine for the whole night is, this is like Lansing, Michigan Community Theater presents Hannibal Origins.
Yes.
But there were digital wounds. Digital wounds are terrible. And the blood looked
need to do that nowadays.
Looked like Clamato.
Yeah. Oh, remember, you got really upset when
the blood
squirted
splatters on his face, and it's so runny.
Blood doesn't look like that.
Blood does not look like that.
Why?
Go to Party City where you got the hand with the sleeve on it.
And get the little tube and just squeeze it in his face.
You get like a 20%
I mean,
off
with
coupon.
as much money as they were obviously spending on this movie, they could have afforded the
The budget
good blood.
was $50 million.
They could have afforded the good blood.
They could have afforded the good
Anybody
blood.
could. I've worked on
Call Tom Savini. I'm sure he's got gallons in his garage.
No money, doing it at the back of your car horror movies, and we can still go and buy a gallon of real blood.
Yeah, we can go find some
Mamie's.
stuff. Yeah,
Okay?
like right now, we can find a store
it is
right now.
just Cairo corn syrup and a little bit of food coloring, and that's it.
Unless you get the cool red kind. Is it real blood that smells like mint and doesn't stain clothing?
I think it's real blood. I haven't worked with it in like decades.
See, that's fancy.
Yeah,
it's super fancy.
Yeah,
super fancy.
Super fancy. I may have played with this stuff before, not for anything artistic, just because.
Yeah,
because using the stuff that comes in the gallon, it was actually the stuff that I remember we used was REEL blood, real blood.
I've seen that. Yeah,
and you get it in gallon jugs, and it was preferred over the Caro syrup doing it yourself because that's time consuming, and
stains.
and stains.
Yeah.
But you know the secret,
inconsistent in color.
Listeners at home, is you make it up in a big batch and you put a little bit of dishwashing detergent in it. Comes out like that. And to counteract the red, you don't put blue in. A lot of people put blue in, but then it looks purple. You put a little bit of green in. You get the blood.
Oh yeah, no, that makes a rust color. Yeah,
and that's
I've
the way to do
only
it.
hand mixed blood once, and it was for a play.
I've made my fair share of fake blood that doesn't really look like real blood, but at least it looks like fake blood. This looks like tomato soup.
It does,
and not.
Yeah,
I mean,
runny.
It was very runny.
It dripped down his face, and
blood
was like
it was a strange choice.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was. I don't know whether it was easier to
watered
squirt.
it down, or maybe they mixed it with water in a spray bottle and just on his face.
Like Bad Kitty.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Bad Hannibal.
Damn it! Damn it, Gaspard! Act better. Right. I bet that was the entire extent of Peter Weber's instruction to Gaspard. Is act better.
Act better.
Or here's the DVD of Silence of the Lambs. Watch it again.
Watch this. And Psycho.
Yeah.
And Halloween.
And Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah,
this movie made me so upset.
It did.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping for maybe good bad.
Yeah.
Like cult.
Like The Room.
Yeah.
I love The Room.
Exactly. It's
and
so
I can't
bad.
ever watch this again.
I love it. It's insulting.
It is.
It you can see the possibilities and how they just
missed the mark at every turn, at every chance
that they do have.
Yeah,
is squashed.
Oh,
wasted.
Completely. And the fact that they just did not take advantage of the more interesting parts of Hannibal's life, which is not just a couple of revenge killings and then we go to black and we show credits.
I'm really upset that the Mostro part didn't come through. That really should have.
Yeah, there's so much there. Or just have him, getting settled in Baltimore and deciding, because how do we get from venge-filled Hannibal? I am, out for vengeance.
I'm going to Canada.
And then I have these people. There is a finite number to his vengeance.
Yes. And if we had seen it all, him enjoying the idea of killing.
Right.
And not just
for Misha.
Grocer guy who makes fun of your creepy psychosexual relationship with your aunt.
Yeah.
Or people who killed Misha.
Yeah. Everything is about his revenge and taking care of bullies, and it makes so none of that makes sense when you get to the end. Okay, so you've beaten and killed.
You've beaten the bad guys. What are you going to do now, Hannibal?
I'm going to Disney World.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It makes no sense.
Now I got a picture of him with Mickey Mouse ears on. Yeah.
Is it Gaspard or is it Anthony Hopkins?
No,
and his
it's
scar.
Gaspard. Mickey Mouse
his
ears.
very interesting dimple.
Because Anthony Hopkins wouldn't wear those damn ears.
No. I would like to see
hashtag not my Hannibal.
Not my Hannibal.
I'm surprised I didn't come up with this earlier.
That's great.
I
Listeners,
see,
please, who have seen Hannibal Rising, tweet to Not My Hannibal, hashtag Not My Hannibal, with the most egregious things in Hannibal Rising, because
or that any of your Hannibals have done.
Yes, absolutely.
Any of the Hannibals.
This was the one Hannibal
cutting off his hand instead of hitting the handcuffs with the cleaver. I don't know.
Hashtag Not My Hannibal.
Not My Hannibal.
Not My Hannibal. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Yeah, and I just
dressing like Clarice's father in the book.
Yeah.
Not My Hannibal. It's
yeah.
I mean, really, what this is recognizing the audience was unwilling to go with the film series beyond where it was, recognizing that Anthony Hopkins was likely unwilling to be older Hannibal again, and that era's fucking obsession with origin stories. Because really, Batman Begins may be the only decent one.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was actually fairly well done.
Even if it does end with a microwave that doesn't make everybody whose bodies are full of water explode. I don't know. Then
it's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Poorly thought
I haven't gone back
there.
to that one. I think what's really frustrating about this movie is it's that whole idea of franchises going back to the well when no one should ever
cash grab.
go back. Again, and it's
Amityville 2.
Trying to squeeze blood from a stone.
Yeah, it's
Puppet Master 4. I think was a prequel.
Yeah,
but that was kind of cool.
Jurassic World.
Well, that's not a prequel.
Yeah, it's not a prequel, but it's going back to the
Jurassic
well.
World. Much better than Hannibal Rising. Much better. Much better.
Yeah. But the idea of we just want to go back because people like this concept,
right,
and not that you should.
Right. Absolutely.
It's to quote Jurassic Park. It's not
you didn't think if you should.
It's not whether you could.
You needed to add a few. I
leave the Goldblum imitations to my husband. He does it very well. I'm not.
What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of what a lot of this stuff is. A lot of these sequels and especially in all the horror movies, when you get to Friday the 13th, part 27, all
Jason
the Rocky
in
movies. Yeah, Jason in space. Exactly.
You two shut up. Jason X is one of the most enjoyable hour and 20 minutes you can spend.
Well,
it's hilarious.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, we'll watch that. No, Jason X is awesome.
I get to a point. It's like when I went to go see, was it Halloween? It was H2O.
H2O is awesome also.
And it was wonderful to have everybody back. And believe me, after all the movies previously, at least they made a better film. But I left there going, did I really need that?
Well, you don't need anything.
No.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If hold on. Speaking in defense of franchises, if we only went with what we actually needed, we would never have seen Terminator 2. We would never have seen Aliens. We didn't need sequels to Alien and Terminator.
Aliens was a fun movie.
We would never have gotten Jason because they would have stopped when Mrs. Voorhees was the killer.
Yeah, that's true.
The franchise desire is perfectly
but that's also just
reasonable.
The second movie. It's not a franchise at that point.
We would never have gotten part 4, which is the greatest of the sequels. Tom Savini comes back. He kills Jason. Tommy Jarvis is in it. Come on, that's a great sequel. We would never have gotten 7. I'm going to go.
I didn't get that far.
7 is amazing. 6.
Yeah.
Jason Lives. It has the James Bond opening where Jason walks into his eyeball and cuts the screen. It has it's brilliant. It has Jason coming back to life after being stabbed with a fence post and getting struck by lightning. It's fantastic.
Okay.
We would never have had New Nightmare, arguably the greatest of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels.
Haven't seen it. I have a problem. Maybe I have a problem with long-term relationships with these characters.
You're a serial
You're breaking up
monogamist.
with Hannibal is what you're saying.
Horror movie person.
If this is the road,
Hold on.
Oh dear.
I'm gonna end this argument
How?
in one step.
Yeah.
Did we need NBC to create a television version of Hannibal?
Ooh,
Another
burn.
prequel
that
of
is a fluke.
Red Dragon?
And you know what? I
It
wasn't
is.
going to watch it.
I know.
It is a
'cause
fluke.
I didn't need to see
Because
another
you
Hannibal.
didn't need it. But
Yeah.
you do.
And Brian Fuller doing that is a rarity.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rarity. So
Well, as we've descended into
Yeah.
discussion of other franchises,
Yeah, we're way off the mark.
where we are way off the mark.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
I don't even see multiple seasons of TV shows to the end. Every single long-running TV show, no matter how awesome, I'm usually gone by the third or fourth season.
It's commitment issues. You have commitment issues.
Yeah, I get bored. I have to move on. I find
And I'm
more
done.
interesting TV shows.
So yeah, is there any reason to watch this?
No.
No. Other
None.
than
I will also go with no.
like if you like viewing train wrecks.
Yeah, but
and
again,
actually
it's
wanna
not
view
that
it.
fun
It's
train
not
wreck.
even a good of a train wreck. Like The
Yeah.
Room is a fun train
Yeah,
wreck. It's
Birdemic,
just so
fun
ridiculous.
train wreck. Sharknado, fun
Yeah.
train wreck.
This isn't even
This
there.
is very, very
It's so bland.
yeah, it's very blah.
And it's competent enough to not be hilarious to watch.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah. I wanted it to be hilarious enough
Nope.
Yeah,
to watch. You know. But it didn't make it. It fell quite
felt quite
short of that.
Now, this is not the last episode of Eat the Rudecast.
No, because if we
Thank
ended
God.
on this, we would be so sad.
So what we're doing is we're coming back probably next week, maybe in 2 weeks, because we're busy.
Yes.
Because life.
But to talk about the series and the films and
Right.
just talk about what we've gotten from this, why we love Hannibal Lecter, why we love this series. And we're going to take a page from the This Is Our Design podcast and hand out the Best in Show awards for the series, and best supporting characters, so we'll look back at the
Oh,
whole
you're going to make me
series.
choose again?
I am.
suck
You are
at
going
that.
to.
Oh, man,
I will
that's right.
I will give you both in advance
Yes.
the categories,
Give us time.
so you can make your notes. Don't share with each other
That's
because
fine.
we don't want to
Don't share.
have overlap there. But we're coming back
I
for
mean,
that.
we might have
and-
the same answers.
Yeah.
Well, we'll likely have the same answers. Some of these questions, it's just like, well, how do you choose something else? But that'll be interesting. Then we are probably coming back with an addendum after the series ends, because that's the end of Eat the Rudecast proper.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to come back with Sunny and Ken, who are our friends from the sex positive community, and also run serial killer tours in the city of Chicago. And so they have a lot of deep insight into the phenomenon of being fascinated with
Yeah.
serial
Ken
killers.
has quite
Mm-hmm.
a knowledge and experience. He's someone that people go to.
And
for
I mean, this
information.
series is predicated on our media consumption of serial killer product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be a wonderful just afterthought to discuss that. And so we extend our little dinner 2 more courses
Right.
past this very, very bland and forgettable one,
Oh, yes.
because we don't want it to be the thing that ends the meal.
No. That would be like choosing that dessert that just tasted awful
Yeah.
and just
Like Halloween Resurrection. I'll give you that one.
okay.
See, Halloween H2O, perfect end for the series.
It should have
Brought
ended
Jamie
there.
Lee back.
Yeah.
She cuts Michael Myers' head off. I mean, perfect. And then, no, it wasn't really him. It was actually the guy driving the ambulance. So at some point he switched costumes and everything with the guy driving the ambulance, and we got Busta Rhymes.
And this is basically my argument about going back to the well.
Yeah.
Is that the problem with going back to the well for money, and because, people love this, they're going to spend money.
Most of the time
it's
bad.
awful.
Yeah.
It's never, that's why Brian Fuller doing this so beautifully is so much a fluke.
Yeah.
Because normally it's just no, it doesn't matter how good is it.
It's a cash grab. Yeah. There's no love. There's no motivation.
Exactly. And there it is. In essence, there is no love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the people who did those earlier films that were creating something imaginative.
Yeah.
This was their baby. I'm going to make this interesting horror movie. I'm going to do something different.
There's actual care involved and a desire to make something good.
Exactly.
The desire in this case to, I'll come up with something.
Something. Yeah.
So.
Twist my arm.
Miko, where can they find more about you online?
You can find me at Technogeisha on Twitter, Miko Technogeisha on Facebook, technogeisha.com, and lifeoftheswingset.com.
Ophelia.
They can find me at Ophelia Tesla on Facebook, and Ophelia Tesla on Twitter, and at opheliatesla@gmail.com.
And I am Cooper S. Beckett on Twitter, Facebook, and .com. Easy. We are not going to do the Ashcast.
Yeah.
We have decided
we're burnt out.
That we are burnt out. Yes. That I mean, we're finishing up pretty much a 46 straight week thing here with Hannibal. And we are going to be going back into Damn Good Podcast, the Twin Peaks podcast, probably just before the end of the year, but we wanted a little break between. And as much as I think we'll love the Ash versus the Evil Dead series, I just want to watch it. We just want to watch it.
Yeah.
And that's it. So apologies for our premature announcement of that series that we're not
excited.
doing.
It's that whole thing like when you get out there at that beginning of that hike and you're like, we're going to go up all the way up.
I'm going to run 10 miles today.
Yeah. And then halfway through, you're like, okay.
Those clouds look like they might have rain in them.
My feet are getting a little achy and that shoe is rubbing.
A stitch in my side. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that before we came out.
Yeah. So that's kind of what, not that our destination was no less loved. We're a little worse for wear.
Yes. It was quite the process here. So you can find this podcast at eattherudecast.com, eattherudecast.tumblr.com, at eattherudecast, and Eat the Rudecast on Facebook. And please do still encourage your friends to listen to this, those friends that you are trying to convince to watch Hannibal.
Yeah.
Convince them and then say, here's a lovely companion to help you get a little bit more out of your Hannibal enjoyment. We did just have a commenter who just found our podcast and commented on episode 102.
Wow.
So it's not likely to be, I mean, we're not taking it off the internet either. No. It's here.
It will be there for your listening enjoyment.
But don't watch Hannibal Rising. Don't.
Is that our public service announcement?
I am stamping don't watch. Like Kramer. It's like a don't buy. Don't watch.
Big rubber stamp.
Yeah. Because it's bad.
Watch.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Hey, this is Dan Savage from the Savage Lovecast and Savage Love, and you're listening to a Swing Set podcast at Swing Set FM.